What is going on, everyone? My name is Extreme Serial, and if you're a player who's struggling with Aetherium Wars, or you're just interested in the most powerful team of Aether-mon, then I got you covered. The team I'm going to show you can easily get through all of the most challenging fights in Aetherium Wars and do so very quickly, so let's get to it. First, let's go over our team setup. So we're going to be using our Trotter, followed by the Aetherium Gatekeeper, Silvermane Cannoneer, and this Ingenium. Now, the order of the team is very important for maximum survivability, so make sure you arrange it just like I have here with the Trotter, Gatekeeper, Cannoneer, and then lastly your Ingenium. You do not want to have your Gatekeeper near your Ingenium. It'll easily destroy how this team works. Now let's move on to the chip section. Now all of the expansion chips can be obtained from just doing the basic victory zones, and you'll need to defeat Bronya to grab this morale chip. If you don't have it and you haven't beaten Bronya yet, that is okay. The team will still work and you can actually use the team to defeat Bronya and get this chip. Now as far as the Aether-mon themselves, they can be obtained by going through the first two areas of the game and getting everything that you need. But the chips will be obtained fully from doing the last two, Herta Space Station and Great Mine. Now let's actually go over the chips in detail. So for our piggy here, we are going to have 4 chips on him, and those are going to be the Safe Mode chip, the Saturated Activation chip, the Parallel Enhancement, and the Morale Activation. Now, I said before that having the Morale Activation means beating Bronya, and if you haven't done that yet, that's okay. What you can actually use instead is this one here, Deep Clean, that just removes debuffs, or really whatever you want. Just don't do any of the chips that have aggro on your piggy. You don't really want to have enemies specifically targeting him with this parallel enhancement. Now moving on to our Aetherium Gatekeeper here, we're going to have 3 chips, and that is this Functional Overdraft, Efficiency Optimization, and Attack Interception. Next is our Silvermane Cannoneer, and he's going to have these 2 chips, High Load Low Speed, I don't know if I said that right, and Backstage Enhancement. Moving on to our Ingenium, we are going to have the Shield System and the Sudden Interjection. And those are all of our chips. Now, the overall strategy of this team is that your little Trotter is going to apply essentially a defense down to the entire enemy team. Your Cannoneer is going to support your Aetherium Gatekeeper, who's going to get Sanction Mode very quickly. And what Sanction Mode does is advance his action 100%, allows him the access to a powerful Imprison ability, which sends an enemy to the back of the line on the action bar and does a lot of damage. On top of that, 2 little Magikarp-like Lanternfish spawn, doing AoE damage over time, and all of these attacks trigger the Silvermane Cannoneer to do his powerful follow-up attack. And on top of that, every action, including the Lanternfish, causes the Aetherium's enhancement chip to activate, which advances his action forward and also saps his HP. Now lastly, we have the Ingenium, and the Ingenium is very important because he is going to act as the tank and also an extra healer. Essentially, the Ingenium's gimmick is that he attracts enemies to attack him, and he sacrifices his HP to heal other teammates, and it's a really big heal. On top of that, if he gets knocked out, he won't actually die, and instead randomly attacks an opponent with 600% attack damage. It's a very strong attack. His ultimate essentially resets his extra life. And that's the gist of the team. You're essentially going to be taking turn after turn, sending enemies to the back of the line while your Aetherium Guard and his Lanternfish constantly attack opponents, and your Silvermane Cannoneer follows up every single time, just obliterating your enemies. If you've ever done Simulated Universe and fought against Cocolia and raged a bit at how many turns she can take with Bronya in the second phase, well, now you're going to know what that feels like, and it's very satisfying. Now that you understand the overall strategy, let me go over some specific tips to really help you bring the most out of this team. The first is that your Trotter should always be using his basic attack to put that defense down on his enemies. Fortunately, the Trotter's ultimate allows his basic attack to heal, which is very powerful. Now the Ingenium, the reason why we have the chip to let him take 2 turns initially is because the way the flow of the fight is usually going to work is that enemies are going to constantly hit the Ingenium, and if they have AoE attacks, they'll potentially hit the Silvermane Cannoneer. This is why I specifically said to have this order of your team, because the Arumaton's Gatekeeper, his HP is going to be going down very quickly, and if you put him near the Ingenium, he's probably going to get wrecked instantly. On the other hand, the Silvermane Cannoneer is a bit tankier, and he can hang out next to him. So usually by the time the Ingenium takes his turn, you have the Arumaton Gatekeeper a bit low on health and the Silvermane Cannoneer. The Ingenium can heal both of them while also sapping his HP and getting closer to his counter attack. Now, as far as the Silvermane Cannoneer goes, his rotation is pretty simple. He uses support, and then he follows with a regular attack. After that, you have to use support again. Now, with the Arumaton Gatekeeper, remember that you want to be always using his skill, and ideally let him use his skill first before you activate Sanction Mode. His skill weakens all the targets and reduces their attack, and on top of that, Sanction Mode will advance your action 100%, so ideally, you use an attack, then use Sanction Mode after that right away, so you get an extra turn, followed by a lot of extra turns from the Lanternfish, as you can see in the footage. Another thing is that when you use your Imprison, just look at the action bar and use it strategically. Remember that Imprison can't be resisted in Aetherium Wars. There's no such thing. All debuffs will land, both on you and your opponent. You can use this to your advantage by always sending an enemy that you're worried about taking a turn to the back of the line with Imprison. And lastly, the overall tip is that just make sure your Arumaton Gatekeeper is always topped up on health. He's going to hit 1 HP very quickly, take a lot of turns. The barrier helps a lot, and so does the Ingenium. But that's why we have Bubbles and both the Ingenium to constantly heal our two damage dealers, and so you can just get through fights extremely quickly. The last thing I want to say is that there is one exception to this team that can kind of dismantle it, and that is a heavy AoE damage over time team, which is currently only used by Yanqing in the Hyperlink match. Specifically, his team consists of 2 Lanternfish and 2 of the kind of demon dogs, and all they do is apply damage over time. This can easily break through your Arumaton's low HP and just cause him to wipe. Now, on the positive side, this team is ridiculously weak. All you need to do in order to overcome this is remove that chip that advances the Arumaton's action and saps his HP, and equip literally any other chip. It can be one that raises attack or just applies damage over time himself. It really doesn't matter. Just switch out that chip and you can easily defeat Yanqing, who is the only exception to the team. And that's it, everyone. The best team in Aetherium Wars that can get you through any of the advanced fights. So whether you're struggling with the Mysterious Elite player or any of the championship matches or the exhibition matches, this team can just wipe through them all, even at a type disadvantage. So I hope this video helped you out. Subscribe for more. See you guys on the next one.